Okay, so I've got the Mercier translucent powder, and I'm going to just grab one of my powder puffs, and I'm just going to like dip it in there, and I'm gonna bake. Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. As you guys can tell from the title, today I'm going to be doing a comparison between the original and honey shades from the Mercier translucent powders. As you guys can see, I've got my base on. I thought I would show you guys what my complexion looks like. The foundation that I'm using is this one from NARS. This one is the Natural Radiant Longwear Foundation. This one is in the shade Barcelona. If you guys want a shade reference and everything, I'll have it down in the description box down below, so you guys can kind of gauge whether or not you guys are quite similar in terms of skin tone to me. Okay, now I'm going to move on to concealers. I've got these two. This one is from Decay. This is the All Nighter in medium neutral, and then I've also got the Maybelline Fit Me concealer in 20 Sans Sable. If you guys are wondering why I've got two different types of concealers, one is just like maybe slightly lighter than the foundation just for a slight illuminating effect, and I like to concentrate the really brightening effect towards the center part of my face. Alright, I'm going to first start off by using the translucent shade. I'm going to use the clean side of this beauty sponge. A light amount like that, and then I've got another Miracle Complexion sponge. This one is clean as well. Just going to dunk it into honey and then do the same thing. Okay, as you guys can see from this little side-by-side comparison, the translucent shade is sort of like this really light yellow shade, so I think really ideal for people that have very light complexions to, let's say, a light tanned complexion. That's just my assumption. And then for honey, as you guys can see, this one's definitely throwing off more of a very warm yellow, almost slightly peachy. I wouldn't say it's like full-on peachy, but it is definitely leaning a little bit towards that. Now if you look at honey, it definitely is truly honey. I feel like for some people, when they think of honey, they just think it's just going to be warm, but in reality I feel like a lot of honey shades in general in the makeup world tends to have a little bit of red thrown in there, and this is definitely true for this. Like, it's very slight, like I'm not saying like it's orange or peach or anything, but it's definitely leaning a little bit more towards that. That's just me being a little bit critical. If you guys are fans of the Benai Banana powder, that one is like a true yellow in my opinion. This one, slightly peachy, like again, not too peach. Okay, what does it look like on my skin though? I feel like honey just looks yellow, whereas the translucent one, it definitely just reminds me of a traditional setting powder like baking powder where it's like a slightly white tinge, but can't really tell too much of a difference. I am going to do a bit more of this powder just so you can see it a bit more on camera, and also for a thumbnail. Also going to do my forehead because I do get a little bit of creasing there these days. Now the Mercier translucent setting powder is definitely one of those powders that I feel like I can really bake like in the traditional sense, and I don't feel like I crease and like look crusty underneath the eyes. Generally I like finishing powders for that sort of stuff, but this is good, this is fine. Okay, so the rest of the makeup is on, and now let's have a look up close and personal to see if there's much of a difference. First glance, honestly, I can't really tell too much of a difference, but now that I'm like really focusing on that area, I can definitely say that I feel that honey has added a tiny bit more coverage to my concealer and has ever so slightly darkened my concealer. So as you guys saw when I applied my concealers, one of them was like really bright, and this side I do feel looks a lot brighter just because translucent is just translucent. It doesn't really add too much coverage to it. I mean, like really, this powder kind of almost looks white with a slight yellow tinge to it. So it does have still a brightening effect, but I do feel like it doesn't add much coverage, which is fine. I mean, that's the whole point of translucent powder. Whereas the honey one does have that slight darker tone compared to my concealer, so it does add a little bit more coverage, but realistically I feel like the differences are quite subtle. I feel like even if I look like straight onto the camera, like I don't think you guys can really tell much of a difference. I am just going to step into a darker room and I'm going to do a little bit of flash test and see if there is any flashback between these two. So here's the photo. Okay, looking up close, I can't see any flashback, and it's actually one of those things I forgot to test out when I first tried out the powder, if it did have any flashback, so I'm glad to say that there isn't, because I don't even remember if I used it at an event. Anyway, so do I see a difference in terms of the undertone between the powders? Again, very minimal, but if I like zoom in really close, you guys can see the honey side does add a little bit of depth to the concealer. It's very, very subtle. I feel like if you're around my complexion, you can get away with either of the shades and you'll be fine. Personally for me, I feel like translucent is still going to be quite a versatile shade, especially when I'm doing like my 5 o'clock shadow and like setting the rest of my face. I think it's still going to be one of the shades that I will gravitate towards. Whereas honey, I feel like it's definitely just limited to like baking for me with my style of makeup. Those are my thoughts and opinions. Definitely let me know what you guys think, which one do you guys prefer on your skin, and which one you guys are going to be checking out. If you guys live in Australia, you guys can get Laura Mercier from Mecca. I will leave a link down in the description box down below. And yeah, if you guys would like to see how I did this makeup, definitely check out my Instagram. It will probably be up like a few days after this video, so yeah, definitely check it then. If you guys would like to watch more of my product reviews, definitely check out the eye on the screen down in the description box down below. I've also got a couple of recommendations for you guys, and that is pretty much it from me. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye!